Shalom, want to give all praises to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shah Bahasham, Arakak and double honors to the elder apostles, great millstone, who rule and teach well, and honors and salutations to the men of the Lord doing the same. All right, and this lesson is going into the famine of the word, okay, and the famine of the word prophecy, okay, the famine of the word prophecy. You can't forget about that. The famine of the word prophecy, that's going to happen before Jacob's trouble go full-fledged. All right, because we already in Jacob's trouble, but this just the start of it. But it has to build up momentum, build up speed. Okay. Also known as the Great Tribulation. It has to build up momentum, build up speed, till it reaches its full potential. All right, and the beauty of the Apocrypha, in Second Ezra 9, Second Ezra 15 and 16, and other chapters, it gives greater detail about Jacob's trouble, the Great Tribulation. That's why Ezra, he said, woe is me, who will deliver me in those days? Okay, that's how bad it's going to get. And Ezra's, he was seeing the times we're living in. He was seeing the last days, the end times. All right, he saw World War III. He saw the nuclear missiles. Okay, called them arrows, serpents. Okay, etc. All right. So Ezra, he saw Jacob's trouble. All right, and he was in it. It was as if he was in it, all right? And a lot of those men of old are back here today, okay? Even the prophets, the minor prophets, a lot of prophets that's not even written about, they're back today, all right? Because you have what the Bible calls reincarnation, all right? So you got a lot of prophets that back today. Some of them are have died and went back to the spiritual world. All right, and they're, but their reward do follow them. They're still going to get their reward and delivered during the second coming, of Yahweh Shah HaMashiach. All right, and the book of Thessalonians goes into that. I can read that before I get into the lesson, though. All right, because the Bible is a spiritual book, and it got some heavy prophecies in there. All right, because none of you people, none of us, seen the dead be raised up out of the graves, but that's going to literally happen, when Yahweh Shah, the second coming of our Lord and Savior Yahweh Shah, when he come back, all right, which the scriptures, I'm about to read it, but when Yahweh Shah and the angels come back in the so-called UFOs, all right, the Lord is going to raise up the dead. Okay, He's going to raise up the dead. You got the just Israelites is going to be raised up from the dead and beamed up into the chariots, so-called UFOs, and given new bodies. All right, and you got the dead that's going to be brought back to life just to die to nuclear missiles. Okay, so yeah. So yeah, we about to see some amazing things. Stuff that people thought wasn't possible is going to be happening. For crying out loud, they're going to see Israelites, getting spiritual power. But they're going to call them, mutants. When they see you, so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, who are the hopeful elect in the household of believers, when they start seeing Yahweh Hashem, Yahweh Shah start handing out spiritual power, and then of course Esau gonna be calling those mutants, okay, calling them mutants, and it's something else they be calling them. All right. And yeah, they're gonna try to, they're gonna they're going to try to fight against those elect members with spiritual power, but of course they're going to lose. All right? That's power out of this world. Yeah, we've seen it on in movies and supernatural movies and stuff like that. But it's one thing to see it on the TV, and it's another thing to literally possess that power. Okay? So this 1 Thessalonians 4, and it's I'm gonna start at 15. Matter of fact, I'm gonna start at 14. Matter of fact, hold on. I'm gonna start at 13. 1 Thessalonians 4 and 13. But I would not have you to be ignorant, brethren, concerning them which are asleep, which are dead, that ye sorrow not, even as others which have no hope. Right? Because unbelievers, 2/3 of the world, when someone died, nothing wrong with crying and mourning that person, but we understand that they went to heaven, to the spiritual realm, all right, to the third heaven. Okay? And they're in a better place, and they're able to rest. And not only that, we understand reincarnation is a real thing. Okay? And not only that, if you died, in the Lord, in Yahweh Hashem, Yahweh Shah, okay, you got nothing to worry about. Because you're going to be raised in glory at the second coming of the Lord. So it says, for if we believe that Yahweh Shah died and rose again, even so them also which sleep in Yahweh Shah will Yahweh bring with him. For this we say unto you by the word of the Lord, that we which are alive and remain unto the coming of the Lord shall not prevent them which are asleep, which are dead. For the Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout, and with the voice of the archangel, and with the trump of Yahweh, and the dead in Hamashiach Yahweh Shah shall rise first. Right. So guess what? Before the elect men, women, and children that are alive and wherever they're at in the Great Tribulation, okay, they're alive, surviving through the grace and will of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shah, and they see the chariots, so-called UFOs, waking up those elect members out of the graves. Those dead elect members getting up out of the graves. All right? And being beamed up into the chariots, the so-called UFOs, and being changed. Then after that, then the elect men, women, and children that's alive and breathing, they're going to be called up and beamed up into the chariots. Okay? So that's going to be heavy. That's going to be a very emotional time period, especially, especially for us believers. That's going to be a very emotional time period right there. All right? And then because the scriptures tell you Yahweh Shah, he's going to end the Great Tribulation. So guess what? We're not going to have to survive off the grid no more. Once you see Yahweh Shah enter this atmosphere, you ain't got to worry about surviving off the grid, and you ain't got to worry about being in the elements, and no more. You like it's about time. It's finished. All praises to Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shah. Okay, the elect is going to be shouting those names, Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shah. All right, going to be shouting those names to the chariots, to especially to the main chariot, that white horse that Yahweh Shah is going to be on, the huge UFO. Okay, so the elect is going to be getting the attention of the Lord and the angels. All right. So when the Lord come back, Jacob's trouble is finished. All right, now the Lord is about to, of course they're going to be destroying 2/3 and heathens with the lasers coming from the chariots, but also they're going to be delivering the elect men and women and children before the nuclear missiles come. All right, because that's how out of hand World War III is going to get. It's going to get out of control. All right. So it says, verse 17, then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air, and so shall we ever be with the Lord. Wherefore comfort one another with these words. That's right. So that's what's coming. Okay. Now I want to talk about the famine of the word, because we understand the famine of the word. Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shah is bringing that, but the Lord is going to bring the famine of the word through Esau, the so-called white man. So it's going to seem like, Esau, he's shutting down the prophets, he's shutting down the Hebrew Israelites. It's going to seem like that to a person that's not spiritual. Those that are not spiritual, they don't understand that when Esau, the so-called white man, shuts down the Hebrew Israelites and shuts down, this truth, it's really the Lord doing it. We're just entering the next phase of prophecy, the next stage of prophecy. Those prophecies of the persecution, okay? The insurrection against those that fear the Lord, 2 Ezra 16 and 70, I believe. All they got to be fulfilled. So we understand that's the famine of the word. When Esau just completely shut the Hebrew Israelite ministry completely down, like it's gonna get to the point you can't even get on YouTube no more. All right. It's gonna get to the point you'll go to the search bar, and you'll try to type in different brothers' pages, and nothing gonna come up. Nothing. All right. Esau about to come down with great wrath. All right. It's gonna go from talks, because right now they talking about it. They talking about taking away the First Amendment. They talking about taking away freedom of speech and limiting this and that. But eventually they're gonna just outright do it. Okay. So the famine of the word is very, very close. All right, they just gonna shut it down completely. All right. And things is after that, once that famine of the word hit, hey, that doors of repentance, them doors of hearing the truth, seeing the prophets, prophesying, teaching, those times is over. Once that famine of the word hit, those times is over. After that, hard times. Okay? After that, perilous times. So that's why beginning with the elder apostles, great millstone, down to the least of us. All right? Brothers always encourage us in this truth. Build up yourselves in your most holy faith. Do all the work you can to please the Lord, and beg for mercy. Because we know once the famine of the word hit, hey, if you ain't get this truth by now, you assed out. Okay? The elect men, women, and children, they will get the truth. They will get the gospel. Okay? You're not about to have an elect member that's still a Christian, that's still calling on Jesus Christ. You're not about to have no elect member is going to still be calling on Jesus Christ, eating pork, and then be of the elect. Fuck no. All right? Hell no. That's not happening. Okay? And we warning you. The prophets are warning you, but guess what? They're not going to listen. They're going to see. They're going to see. They're going to see. All right? They're going to see, ironically, you know, the Hebrew Israelites that call upon Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, you know, they're going to be what? Surviving, being taken care of through the grace of the Lord. All right? While everybody else getting fucked over, thrust through, you know, those spirits of vengeance is going to be hopping on people, and because everything's spiritual. All the violence that's going to be happening is being controlled by demons. It's spiritual. And guess what? The demons, they're not allowed to fuck with no elect member to the point of, killing them. All right? Or, trying to run them over with a bus or some shit. All right? Not only, you're going to have elect members that's going to be martyrs. All right? That's prophesied, Revelation 20 chapter. Yeah, you're going to have elect members. They're going to get run down and caught, by the government and, beheaded for the truth. Okay? So, you Israelites you internet Israelites, you Israelites that's partying and you trying to make the Hebrew Israelites seem fun and like, yeah, we're just like the world. No, we're not. No, we're not. Okay? Guess what? This truth is about to get deadly serious. You about to see a lot of people renounce being a Hebrew Israelite because they're going to see like, damn, it got deadly. It ain't fun no more. All right? Which Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shah told us the persecution is coming. Okay? So this Isaiah 55:6. Seek ye the Lord while he may be found. Call ye upon him while he is near. Let the wicked forsake his way, and the unrighteous man his thoughts. And let him return unto the Lord Yahweh, and he will have mercy upon him. And to our God Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shah, for he will abundantly pardon. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, saith the Lord Yahweh. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. For as the rain cometh down and the snow from heaven, and returneth not hither, but watereth the earth, and maketh it bring forth and bud, that it may give seed to the sower and bread to the eater. So shall my word be that goeth forth out of the mouth. It shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please, and it shall prosper in the thing whereto I sent it. That's right. So we're living in beautiful times because, Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shah is finally bringing these end times, last days, end of the world prophecies. And everyone's shook. Okay? The atheists, they're scared. Esau, the so-called white man, they're scared. 2/3, they're scared. Okay? Christians, they're scared. Because they're living in the most perilous times, most uncertain, a time of uncertainty. Hey, but the Bible tells you, the Lord doesn't give us the spirit of fear, but of a sound mind. So we're not in confusion. If you're born again, if you're, how the Christians say, a child of God, a child of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shah, you shouldn't be confused. You shouldn't be in a state of confusion, in a state of panic. No, you should know what's coming. You should know the future. Be listening to the prophets of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shah. All right? And just serving the Lord. All right? To the best of your ability. Okay? And getting yourselves ready mentally, physically, and spiritually. All right? So, let me see. Gotta get the famine of the word precept, and that'll be it. Amos 8:11. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord Yahweh, that I will send a famine in the land, not a famine of bread, nor a thirst for water, but of hearing the words of the Lord Yahweh. And they shall wander from sea to sea, and from the north even to the east, and they shall run to and fro to seek the word of the Lord, and shall not find it. Okay? That's right. That famine of the word is close. You're going to see people that you never thought would be seeking you. All right? You might have neighbors, family or friends or co-workers, whoever. You're going to have people coming out of woodworks that you never thought was watching you, and never thought was just watching you. But of course they don't believe in what you believe in. They just watching your ass. But they going to come out the woodworks. They're going to be like, well, that dude, he been prophesying on the streets corners, and he been saying, this going to happen, and it's happening. So let me go talk to him. Let me, they're gonna try to make bridges. All right, they're gonna try to, form a coalition with the prophets, and that's not happening. All right, the Lord told, beginning with the prophets and the rest of the elect, not to help no unbelievers. All right, especially in Jacob's trouble. All right, because, hey, once the famine of the word hit, time for preaching is over, teaching is over, talking is over. Now it's just straight survival. All right, okay. So, Lord willing, that was edifying. Want to end it and give all praises to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shah Bahasham Arakakbadash, and double honors to the elder apostles, great millstone, ruling and teach well, and honors and salutations to the men of the Lord, doing the same and teaching the same. Shalom.